like I don't have any regrets in life. I don't feel like I would be where I'm at if I didn't choose the things or the choices I made to get to where I'm at now, and that I love my life the way it is now.
One of my biggest regrets is probably not going to design school for fashion. Playing it safe and staying close to home. So now I just sketch in my free time, and I started sewing so that hopefully I can still pursue that passion on my own.
Okay, so since this is going over the internet, would you like to drop a website or something, or?
It's a work in it's a work in progress, so it's not up yet, but it should be up hopefully by the end of the month. LoveRosaco.com, which is LoveRosaco.com.
Boom.
Well, I would say learning more about personal finance and how markets work at a younger age, and I deal with it by continuing my education in finance.
My biggest regret would probably be that after I got kicked out of my parents' house here in Houston when I was like a teenager, that I didn't go straight home after being kicked out. I kind of experienced a variety of different things that I didn't ever necessarily think I would experience. I think just the biggest regret of it was having to come back home after it all and get used to living with the family again after they thought that I was okay, and that eventually all of it unraveled itself, and it's just kind of like, how do you go and live with your parents? Your parents specifically, they're like people you look up to, and it was hard. And the way I kind of just lived with it was that I didn't say anything for as long as I could, and one night out of nowhere something's happened, and it was just kind of like, okay, let me put it out there. And ever since then, I think the way that we've lived with it is just being honest with each other, and that's just kind of how I'm living now. It's just kind of like, let me not regret it, let me just be honest, I'll put it out there all for once and for all, and it's just kind of the best way to live with it, because keeping it in doesn't do you any good.
Not going to college right out of high school. I'm on my second baby and still in college, so my biggest regret is that I didn't finish college in the normal time span.
Giving up on myself when it came to playing basketball. I let an injury derail what I wanted to do with it. However, the way that I handled it was just staying in the realm of basketball. So I went to school for journalism / broadcasting, and now I actually work for the Houston Rockets. So I'm still around the game, I'm still around the sport. I'm able to provide like an analyst and synopsis of what goes on with the team, stuff like that. So overall, I was able to still stay in touch with basketball. So I want to do sports broadcasting. That's what I went to school for. Got my degree in communications, corporate concentration, and so I have a job with the Rockets right now. But what I initially want to do is just move up to sports broadcasting and being able to travel with the team and be a commentator for all their games.
I'm a singer, and a few years ago I was on a TV show. I'm from Houston, Texas, so I tried out and auditioned and didn't tell anyone, and made it onto a show after a very long elimination process. So they flew me out to Hollywood, California. I went with my father. I was there for about 2 weeks filming the show. Made it all the way onto the show, and it was the type of show where you would hit the buzzer if you didn't think you did well, so you could take money. So it was really very tempting. So I hit the buzzer at the end of my episode, and I took the cash, and then I found out that I had actually like 80% won over the other candidate. So I missed out on $1 million. So that is definitely my biggest regret. However, I do want to follow up and say that, with that being said, what was the regret wasn't so much the money, is that I didn't believe in myself enough to know that I actually, did a lot better than I thought. So moral of the story is, for me, believe in yourself more, and I think greater things will happen for you. So.
One of my main regrets is my financial situation. I opened up too many credit cards. They were throwing them at me, and I took them, and so I do regret taking out so many credit cards, and that has messed up in the past my credit score, so living with it is kind of, you know, challenging when you have to get a car or you want to get a house or something like that. So it's been challenging, but I'm working my way through it and I'm cutting up those cards.
My biggest regret would probably have to be the fact that I didn't play softball in college. I played all growing up in my life. When I got to that point, I felt like that sports didn't define me and I wanted to do something different. But I would say I still kind of wonder just how my whole college experience and what I'd be doing now would be like if I did play softball in college. But I deal with it now because I have a really good job. I've started from the bottom and really worked my way up, and I'm still working my way up. So it's kind of a, bittersweet thing. I really like how my life is right now, but that probably would be one of my biggest regrets.
My deepest regret would be staying with the same guy that I shouldn't have throughout college. And I live with it now that I learned what I didn't want, and I married a wonderful, fantastic man. And now he is the father of my beautiful baby girl, Everly.
So my main regret is not finishing college when I started. So I had a full ride to go to college when I graduated from high school a long time ago. And by my sophomore year, I kind of farted around, changed my major 3 times, moved a bunch of times. And so now, I'm doing all right. I have a decent job that I probably would have had with the same degree. But how I deal with it is I am starting the process of going back to school. So I just filled out FAFSA stuff just like I would have done. My daughter is going to graduate with a degree before I will, but my goal is still to get that finished in the next 4 or 5 years. So.
Probably a mistake I made is I didn't go to college. Actually, I went to college for night school. It's all the money I could afford. But I didn't go on and sign up to graduate and get a degree. My fear was if I left my girlfriend to go off to school, somebody bigger, smarter, richer, more handsome would get her, not me. So I chose to keep her and forget the school. Ended up working hard, pouring iron in the foundry, and doing lots of odd jobs, and finally got a good job and a good career and stuck with it. We've been married now for 58 years, and it's going strong, and I'll never leave her. It was the best thing I ever did.
Me and my grandma were real tight when I was growing up. I remember when I was about 15, I was working on getting my license. And my grandmother, she never drove a car, and I don't ever think she even had a license. I just never saw her drive anywhere. And I would always tell her, Grandmama, when I get my car, I'm gonna take you around. We just gonna ride, we're gonna go to all the stores you wanna go to, and just hang out together. And when I turned 16 and got my license, I was just too concerned with doing everything except spending time with my grandma. Just running the streets and being a teenage boy. I thought about my promise to her, but I never made time for it. And so much time passed by so fast, and she's not with us anymore. And my biggest regret is not taking her on that ride and just cruising with her. I remember when I got my first motorcycle, it had a tear on the back seat. So I took this black bandana and wrapped it around there, and it kind of looked like it was a scarf on somebody's head. And it reminded me of my grandmama. She used to wear this scarf on her head when she was in the house so she could keep her hair tight. And it just reminded me of that scarf she used to wear. And then I named the bike Barbara Jean. That was her name. And I just remember getting on the bike, and I felt like that was my way of taking my grandmama on that ride, because we would just hit the back roads and the countryside and just roll. And it just became a thing. So every time I wanted to really just clear my head or just talk to her or just be close to her, I'd hop on the bike and we would just be together on that ride. And since then I've sold that bike and got a new one, but I kept that rag and I keep it on my handlebar because my grandmother lives on inside me, but I still like to take my grandmama on that ride and talk to her. And when it's time for me to clear my head and just be close to her, it's just the thing that we do. And that's how I live with that big regret.